So the engineering notebook keeps track of each member's goals and responsibilities. So throughout meetings, if one member had to go and, I don't know, work on the robot or program a certain thing, that would be kept in the engineering notebook. That way everything can be documented and people can look back on it, and everything's always in a neat and organized way. It also provides documentation and detailed records of daily work. So during each meeting, in your engineering notebook, you're gonna talk about what was said. That way, once again, you can look back on it so that everything is documented and you have information for every single day. It allows for detailed reports and information about problems throughout the season. So you had consistent problems with mechanical or programming, or you struggled with a robot breaking or something, it's going to be in here so you can look back on how you fixed the problems in the past, or if these problems are repeating, how you can fix them in the future. And it also provides information about how far you've come and how far you've grown. These are photos of an engineering notebook. As you can see, it follows certain rules. So in the bottom, you have to date it and sign it in a certain way, but all information is going to be sketches and primarily written down. You can paste or put photos in as you see there, but primarily it's to record thoughts and just information. It's not super formal, but rather just to record stuff throughout the season and just information so you can look back on it.
Okay, so next is an engineering portfolio. So that's going to present your team's progress and accomplishments throughout the season. So your portfolio is going to be 15 pages plus a cover page, so 16 pages overall. And so all the information in your portfolio has to be easy and concise and quick to understand and read, because the judges, like I said, only have such a short time to look at it before they meet you, and you want them to understand as much of your team and your goals as much as they can. And you also, I recommend including sketches and charts. It makes your data easier to read. It makes your team look more organized, and overall just looks better to judges to have your data and charts. You should probably include discussions and team meetings. That's part of the first rubric. So if you look online, first has a rubric for portfolio, what should include and what judges are looking for, and one of those things is discussions and team meetings. You should also include the design process. So when you're building your robot throughout the season and while you're coding, you go through different iterations with your code and different sensors that you use. You go through different iterations with your mechanical. So when you change your claw design after you test it and you need changes, you want to keep track of all the different iterations you did with your mechanical so you can include it.
So some of the main focuses that are going to be in your portfolio is the mechanical, CAD, programming, outreach, and sustainability. When you're putting mechanical in your portfolio, you want to put the iterations you had for your robot. The judges like to see what you did before and how you learned and applied it to your robot and put it on after. You also want to have design matrices and something that's unique about your robot and makes you stand out, so the judges can also remember that.
Another really important thing is CAD. CAD you can use to 3D model anything you want, which then with those 3D models you can 3D print. Yeah.
Finish first. That's what you're saying about CAD.
What do you do? Okay, whatever. Anyway, so you can use this to 3D print items and customize your robot. This means if you want to specialize your robot for any part of the season, you can 3D print it and make sure your robot's customized and specially designed so that you can perform at your best. Yes?
What does CAD mean?
Computer assisted design.
Thank you.
Alright.
Okay, so next is programming, which is also super important, and that's what's gonna make your robot move and everything. So when you're programming, it's super important, when you're showing your programming to judges in your portfolio, when you're talking about it, it's super important to remember that the judges aren't gonna know what you're talking about necessarily if you don't say it in a way that's easy to understand, because those judges aren't necessarily working with programming every day. They're not all engineers, they're just volunteers. So you wanna make sure that when you're presenting your programming, you don't want to put just photos of your actual code, because when they look at that, they're not really going to understand it. It'd be better to maybe write it in a pseudocode or show charts of how your programming works and different things like that. And it's also important to talk about how you learned to code if you're newer, and all the steps and all the process that you took throughout your coding journey.
So another thing is outreach, which is really important because it's what you've been doing throughout the whole season. So you're going to write your outreach events, and under those outreach events, you want to write the impact you had on your community with a couple of short sentences and why you did them. Next, you're going to have next the major outreaches you did that will really stand out to the judges, and write how big of an impact that was to the community, so that when the judges are done and they can come by your pit and be oh, so you talked about this outreach event, so why was this way, and how important was it and why?
Another thing that's insanely important is sustainability. Sustainability means that you can keep your team running in the future. This means that you're training your members so that everybody understands things so that in turn they can train younger members. That's actually one of the key reasons we keep the engineering notebook. This allows for people in the future to look back on old engineering notebooks and old seasons and be able to study exactly what you did last season, your thought processes, your different robots, your different designs, your different programming challenges, so that you can make sure that no matter what, you will always have a team that can succeed and excel at any given event.
So your presentation, like I said, is 5 minutes, and it's the 5 minutes of achievements and progress throughout the season. So you got to put in a lot of stuff in these 5 minutes, but the most important stuff that's unique to your team should be put in there. And then when you're talking about your team, try to speak clearly, let everyone participate, and help finish somebody's answer if they're struggling. Don't just start talking while they're talking. Let them finish out and be like, to add on to that, I would also say blah, blah, blah. The judging is going to be 10 minutes of questioning about your season, and try to have everybody talk, even if they didn't work in that part of the robot, so that the judges know that everybody was included throughout the season. To practice these questions, you could all sit around in a circle and then put sample questions and everybody draws them. And then whatever question it is, whether you worked on that or not, you could answer it so that you're prepared in the judging. So the judges will also come to your pit. So you want to have a spare portfolio if you need to reference something to it, and same with the engineering notebook. You should always have somebody at your pit at all times, because if a judge sees that nobody's there, they might just skip your table and might not even come back to you. And then have items to represent what you did throughout the season, like previous iterations or outreach posters and fundraisers. Judges, like I said, really like to see how you gained more knowledge. So mechanical iterations are very important. And if you did a major outreach event, you could have flyers or something to hand to them so that they can see how you did it and how big it was.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate just how important pit judging is. The judges coming up to your table determines what kind of awards you're going to win later on. So if you get judges asking about mechanical questions, that means if you have demonstrations, like Deanna said, that you can show the judges, that will really show that you're prepared, that you've innovated, and that you've changed throughout the season. This could make major changes between whether or not you're going to win an award or whether you won't. So if you're always there and always paying attention, it could mean that you might win Inspires or you might not. You have to try your hardest to present and give the questions as much focus and answers the best you can.